Hey guys, I hope that you are doing well. And while we're in this study through Song of Solomon, this study that we're calling Thrive, because we believe that your marriage can thrive. It doesn't have to just survive. It doesn't have to be ordinary. It can be extraordinary and it can thrive. And we believe that. And we believe that Solomon, in the book Song of Solomon, gives us some tips for how our marriages can thrive. And so we're in week 7 of this study. We've got one more week after this to go. And so today, we're going to talk a little bit about how you can stoke the fire inside of your relationship and inside of your marriage. You know, we think of our marriages and we think of love. We say, I love you, and we love our spouses. And as people grow apart and as you talk to people whose marriages don't make it and who get divorced, one of the common things that I hear said all the time is, well, I just don't love them anymore. Well, if that's the case, if you are dissatisfied or discontent in your marriage because you don't love your spouse anymore, you need to repent and start to think differently about love. Because the only way that you can not love your spouse anymore is if you believe that love is only an emotion, that love is only a feeling, that the only way you love your spouse is if you have this butterfly type feeling or this honeymoon type of emotion at all times. And that's just unrealistic. That's not true. Love is not a motive. Love is not a feeling. Love is a choice. Love is a choice that we make today and every day for the rest of our lives when it comes to our marriages and our relationships with our spouse. And so if we believe that love is a choice, we also believe that it's our responsibility to make sure the fire inside of our marriage doesn't go out. Any fire, if you don't tend it, if you don't add logs, it's going to eventually go out. And so our responsibility as guys, talking to the men here, is to make sure that the fire doesn't go out. Is to put more logs on it, to put more fire on it, right? To tend the fire, to make sure it doesn't go out. That's our responsibility. And that's what we see this man do in Song of Solomon 7. And he starts talking to his woman again. And, you know, every other time in Song of Solomon, he started with her eyes and moved his way down her body. This time, he goes a little different. And he starts with her feet and he works his way up. You know, one of the things that he starts with, how beautiful are your sandaled feet, princess. The curves of your thighs are like jewelry, the handiwork of a master. I mean, we see him complimenting her from the feet up. And then he says something interesting. Your navel is a rounded bowl. It never lacks mixed wine. Your belly is a mound of wheat surrounded by lilies. And I read this and I was like, oh my gosh, what is he doing? Why is he telling her that? You should never tell a woman that her belly is that her navel is a rounded bowl, that her belly is a mound of wheat. No, like that's a terrible thing. But that's why it's important to know the context of anything we read in the Bible, because when we understand the context of this, we know that the belly is the seat of emotion and her heart. And what he's saying to her, what she would have heard this as, is he was letting her know that just like wine and just like the harvest of wheat, she is an incredible blessing to him. And so he goes into this speech to let her know that, hey, you're a blessing to me. And he's putting more logs on the fire. And he's tending the fire a little bit more. And what we see here is this man knows this woman intimately. He knows everything about her. He knows what to compliment, and he knows things about her body and things about her character and things about her personality. You know, in our marriages, God has given us the gift of spending time together so that we see and learn things that no one else sees and knows. You know, we have to decide that we aren't just going to be roommates with each other. We're going to be students of each other. We're going to study each other. We're going to learn things about each other. We're going to pay attention to things. And then when we see things and we learn things, we're going to then compliment and encourage the things that we see and learn. That's how you put more logs on the fire. That's how you tend the fire. We've got to be willing to pay in praise and not take character or beauty or faithfulness for granted, but make sure that we are extolling our spouses publicly in front of our kids, in front of their friends, in front of other people. We've got to make sure that we are complimenting their character, their beauty, their desirability. That's how we put more logs on the fire. That's how we make the choice to love and to keep the fire going. Their relationship isn't new anymore. The honeymoon feeling is probably gone. The butterflies are probably gone. Their bodies are probably changing. Their bodies aren't what they once were, but they've seen and they've learned things that are keeping them fired up about each other. And this is the reason why everything can't be based off of just someone's beauty or off of our sexual desire. Because, hey, looks are going to change. We're all going to get older. We're all going to get wrinklier. We're all going to get uglier. We're all going to get fatter. That's just a reality. And so if we only base our love off of this feeling and this emotion and what our spouse looks like, we're going to be highly disappointed. But if we make the choice, hey, things are going to change. And that's okay. It's my responsibility to put more logs on the fire, to make sure that I'm tending the fire. And that's what this man does. He lets her know that, hey, even though things are changing, even though it's not new anymore, I still desire you. I still want to consume you, right? I still want the fire to get going. And so many of us, we refuse to gather more wood. We refuse to show care to the fire. We refuse to blow and breathe on the fire. And because of that, our fire ends up going out, but it doesn't have to. If you just are willing to care for it and tend it and breathe on it and put more logs on it, your marriage fire can keep going and your marriage can thrive, even though love is not an emotion or a feeling, it is a choice. That's why we need to do a couple of things. The first thing we need to do is you need to fight for fun in your marriage. You need to, right? We've got to fight the crustiness. We've got to be friends. We got to be playful. We got to be flirty. We got to laugh. We got to send playful and flirty text messages and responses and those kind of things. We have to fight for fun in our relationship. We also have to fight for romance. You know, romance isn't natural to most people. It's not to me. I suck at it. I'm awful at showing romance. Like I'm just not very, very good at it. I'm not creative, right? I just struggle at that kind of thing. But we need to fight for romance. It's a discipline. So pick a couple of random dates a year to be creative and to spend time away from doing something that's normal, right? Do things that you used to do that are old, things that are new, right? Ask new questions, ask different questions. We have to guard ourselves against the tendency to shift into tepid relational dynamics and into being lazy. We will always drift towards laziness. We'll always drift towards same old, same old. We'll always drift towards uncreativity. We'll always drift away from romance. And we have to make sure to guard against that, to make sure we're not lazy and that we are willing to ask our spouse, hey, how can I love you better? How can I serve you more effectively? How can I show you more romance? And be spontaneous and putting each other first and refuse to give in to the idea that our fire is going to go out, that we're just going to be roommates. That doesn't have to be true. Your fire can still last. You can have a marriage that thrives as long as both of you are willing to do this. So if you want to be romantic, learn to be courteous. Spend time together. Be expressive. Be affectionate in a non-sexual way. Be creative. Be spontaneous, right? Do something rare that you wouldn't normally do, right? Get a gift. Write a note. Do something unusual. Be thoughtful. Be energetic. Be insightful, right? All of our spouses, really what they want more than anything is thoughtfulness and insightfulness. That you heard them, that you listen to them, that you know them, that you're studying them, and then you're responding to that in a thoughtful way. So if you do that, being romantic is not hard. It just takes that. It takes listening. It takes learning. It takes thoughtfulness. It takes insightfulness. And so I would just ask you as we end, when it comes to paying attention to your spouse, to being a student of them, to fighting for fun in your marriage, to fighting for romance in your marriage, to fighting to not be lazy in your marriage, which one of those do you struggle with the most? And which one of those are you winning right now? Where do you need to grow and where do you need to capitalize on in this next season? And then on those things I just mentioned about how to be romantic, what are some things that you can do this week, this month, and this year in order to put some logs on your marriage, to show some care to the fire, to breathe on the fire, and keep the fire going no matter what's changing around you? I love you guys. Remember, even in a time such as this, your marriage can thrive. We'll see you next week.